Thanks for experimenting with this with me.
Totally. I actually have a question um, that I hope fits in as a good like therapy session way to start this, which is how does it feel different to be sitting on videotape right now?
Honestly, I'm
Or does it?
really used to, yeah, I don't know. I'm really used to being like live on the air, so I feel just as awkward as I always do.
Great, good.
And I hate being on video and on camera, so but I keep having practice having to do it for photo shoots and like video shoots and stuff. So actually this feels more comfortable because we might not even publish this one day.
Yeah. Okay, good. So you can rest in that
Yeah.
safety, knowing that it could not be published.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. Or that it could help somebody out one day. This feels more natural to me to be like videoing this on my computer and talking to you in my therapy session than like posing for a picture.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm like literally sitting on your couch with like my socks, instead of like did I get my eyebrows waxed yesterday and like put your and then
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
so it's it's pretty chill for me, I think. How do you feel?
Yeah, it's different for me. I'm aware of my body right now and just feeling the subtle difference. And it's not unlike there just is this aspect of performing that's a little bit different. Like, so it's interesting for me because I'm not even. I know that our video friend can hear me. It can't. Nobody can see me. But I just feel a different awareness of my voice and a different awareness of my body, which is interesting. Um, and actually, it could be really interesting to continue as we're talking about trauma and body and awareness and that sort of thing.
Yeah. It's interesting that you say that because I guess I've trained myself over the course of the last lifetime, really, to perform.
Mm.
And, like, I've gotten used to what that feels like in my body in a way. I mean, I still get super nervous every week I go on the air on my radio show, or every time I get on stage, or every time I have a photo shoot or a video shoot or anything. I do feel super weird. But I think part of the rush of performing or recording or doing any of that stuff is like there's like an adrenaline rush in a little bit of a way where like I'm not like having an adrenaline rush like super intensely, but there's an adrenaline rush of like, oh yeah, I feel that nervousness and I'm just going to like acknowledge it and continue forward and do the best job that I can even when I have the weird feelings. So um, the like the juxtaposition of nervous and powering through, um, yeah, it's kind of an addiction sometimes. I feel like when I analyze it, I'm like, why do I keep doing this performing thing when I get so nervous beforehand, or when I'm so nervous during?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So can I ask something about that? Is there any piece of performing that's dissociative a little bit?
Well, I think it depends on what kind of a performer you are or your performance, because I think you can disassociate, but I also think that the best performances are when you're completely connected. And that's the challenge. That's the big adrenaline rush is like, can I feel this really nervousness and also completely get past it to the point where I'm completely honestly and fully expressing myself and like allowing myself to it's almost the opposite of dissociating if you can do a really good job of it. It's like if you were to imagine the nervousness of performing of any kind, um, with like I don't know the chaos of the world, and then like the ultimate performance is like you being completely genuine and being able to express your soul. That's it's almost like grounding. It's more, if you can do a good performance, it's grounding. If you are not able to ground yourself during the performance, then maybe it's dissociating. Dissociating.
Dissociating. Yeah.
Yeah, because then you've disconnected from yourself and your body just to go on autopilot and get through it. So there are times when you're like not connected with yourself and your body and you're just getting through it so that you can like survive. And then there are other times when you acknowledge the weird feelings in your body and like your racing thoughts and your whatever, and then you breathe through it and then you ground yourself inside your experience and then just like express and emote, right? So, like, we're talking about that first record, and it's super vulnerable for me to put it out because um, it's not my most professional work. And here we are in Nashville, where like everybody's work is supposed to be of this extremely high caliber. And I put out a record of extremely high caliber, and then here I am, releasing something that's super stripped down, that like I knew I had a cold half the time I was recording vocal tracks at 2 o'clock in the morning or whatever. Some of it's very DIY and some of it's professionally recorded. But also on top of that, I was new to recording.
You were how old again?
When I wrote the songs on the album, I was between the ages of like 15. I released it when I was 22, and I don't remember like the exact timeline of all of the songs written. So anywhere between 15 and 20, 15 and 22, basically between high school and college. So, but when I was recording, I think, one-off sessions here or there in the studio whenever my friend Brendan had Studio 101, whenever he like would offer me free studio time outside of actual clients. So it was a lot of like, hey, how about midnight on Thursday? And I was like, all right. Or like in my friend Dylan's bedrooms, he'd be like, I have this 8-track digital recorder. We can get those last tracks here. And I was really new to trying to perform with a click track, like the metronome in the studio, and like doing my guitar tracks separately from my vocal tracks. That felt really weird and uncomfortable for me because like that adds a whole element of not being able to ground yourself in your performance, because then all you're doing is going, okay, how many times did I do that guitar chord in a row, and how many times does that happen when I'm singing a verse and then another verse and then how many times, and then oh my gosh, I'm off from the click track, and now it's not expressive in the same way. It was a great learning experience, and I learned a lot from what I don't like in recording, because there's this standard in modern day recording where you're supposed to play to a click. Everything's supposed to be like square and quantized. Like that's just the way you do things, and you cut and paste things. That's why it happens that way, so that you can just cut and paste things and edit things really easily from the computer. But since my first record, Disguised as Fate, like, and then I tried it again. My second record, I do air quotes because like I don't know, I still don't feel like those songs were like recorded to their fullest, and I really want to re-record them in a more professional setting. But we tried the same kind of thing. It was like doing the tracks separately to a click, and I hated it again. I mean, no offense to the people that helped me do it. It's just the method of recording that is standard, and I hated that again. And so with my third record, when I first moved to Nashville, Dylan, that friend of mine that I have known since high school, who helped me with Disguised as Fate and who remixed and remastered it for this 10th anniversary edition, which is so special because he's been such a close friend to me ever since we were like seniors in high school in Florida. But what I love about working with Dylan artistically is that he totally hears me and respects what I want and my vision. And my vision is like, I hate recording with a click track. I just want to do live with me singing at the same time as playing because that's me in my natural habitat. I can express myself that way. I'm not counting. I'm not in my head. I'm in my feelings, and I want to get the best take. I also think that it's kind of bullshit that, like, and people get defensive, but I'm just talking about my perspective. I think it's bullshit that, like, we have this smoke and mirrors effect of music where everything sounds so polished and perfect when really it's just, like, the best of every 5 seconds of somebody's 10 vocal takes all squished together. When, like, I just think then people who are listening don't know that that's what's happening behind the scenes, and they're like, wow, this person is so perfect, or whatever. I want to hear I want to hear recordings like they were back in the day when you clicked record and everybody went on the same time, and then it was like live to acetate. I'm not like that ballsy yet to just be like live to acetate, but really I've done live to tape with no editing. That was the third record, Niche. We only put it out on tape. We recorded it live to reel tape. It was a single mic in his living room, and I felt so good about it. Until we transferred it to digital and then put it to tape. So then for my most recent self-titled record, that's why I wanted it to be all analog. Of course, there was some editing, but like everything was. There were some songs that were recorded straight live, guitar, vocals, all the way through, and other tracks were me doing guitar vocals with the band, and then we edited then we like redid where I like, let's get a cleaner guitar take, or let's get a cleaner or more emotive vocal take. But even in that process, the original bed tracks, they call them, were like me singing and playing live, no track with a band. So that just is a long answer to like, is it dissociating versus something else? And I think that's another reason why I look back on the first record as like such a formative, like not only were they my formative years like in my life, but they were like formative years in my artistry and my career or whatever, in the way that I see things and do things, and how I am continuing to try to figure out who I am and what feels good to me, which can be really hard in a male-dominated industry too. A lot of people, especially men, will tell you when you're telling them your artistic vision, that they're like, no, digital is way better, it's higher quality, blah, 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 you gotta learn how to play to a click, and blah, dee, 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 dee. And then like people will just like mansplain away and away and away. And like the hard part about being a woman in the music industry, one of them is like sticking with your experience and your voice and finding people who aren't going to be dickheads about it and who agree with you and who respect you and who want to help you make that vision into a reality. And yeah, so I don't know. I think I'm really lucky because I've been able to find people to help me out like that.
I'm finding myself wanting to ask you so many questions about what your experience is like when you listen to this album, knowing how it was made. Like, what do you hear? Does that make sense?
I cringe, honestly, because I know, for example, that I can do better and I could do better then. Like,
Mhm.
in terms of my vocal tracks, for example, like, I can hear where I'm flat, or when I can literally hear it in every minuscule thing that, like, I had a cold and it was such a struggle to sing that with a cold, but that was my only chance. And then I had to release it as a representative of myself for the rest of all time. And it's like, but the weird thing is, last time I went on tour with the self-titled record and I went back to Florida, my friends there, that's the record I put out when I was there. Those are the songs I was performing when I was starting to play shows, which was a lot. And they love it, and they still love it. Like, I went to my friend Brenda's wine shop, um, and she plays it in her wine shop all the time. And when I came to visit her, she was playing it when I walked in. And she had the limited edition hand painted covers because I had like a set of covers painted by my cousins. And she had one of the hand painted covers, and still, like, it was still special to her. And she loves it. And she listens to it and she likes it. So to me, it's like this embarrassment. And her, it's like something that she truly loves and respects. I also, when I listen to it, I am really impressed by my songwriting and guitar playing. Um, it's way more complex guitar parts than I play now. I've really simplified on purpose because I don't really have the capacity in my brain to like constantly be so complicated. But when I listen to the guitar parts, I'm like, whoa, holy shit. Like, I was 15 when I wrote that, or like 16 when I wrote that, or like 18 when I wrote that. Um, I'm really impressed with like my wisdom, like just to listen to what I was singing about and like the poetry of it and the complex guitar playing of it and the simplified pop structures, but like the crazy modulations of weird chords that I still don't know what they're called. Um,
I wish we were on a radio show right now so that I could say, and now let's listen to one. I really want to hear one right
I
now.
guess maybe when we edit it, I could edit in some songs. And we could be like, oh, and here's a song.
Seriously,
We'll do that.
Yeah. So I'm actually going to start to stop us anyway.
Sure.
I want to just like pause and then just totally pick up next time, like right here almost, because.
Okay. Cool. What we could do is we'll stop it now, and then next week maybe we can just watch it again and see where we want to go to continue the conversation.
Sounds like a great idea.
Thank you.
Oh my God, you're so welcome.
Okay, so I'm gonna pause it.